Faeries Halloween Celebration and Memorial. Today, we're going to be casting a short circle, do a short casting, breathing together, and then we're going to go around, and in 1 or 2 minutes, please no more than 1 or 2 minutes, and if you have nothing to say, it's okay to pass the mic. Just say whatever you'd like to say about Jerry. Let's have everybody stand, okay, and then hold the hands of the people next to you or whatever is close by. And if you can't stand, that's fine. Okay. So everybody join hands. And take a deep breath in and breathe out. Take another breath in and breathe out. And this time take a breath in and still your mind, focus your mind. As you breathe in and breathe out. Squeeze the hands that you're holding. The circle is cast, and you can sit down. I'm also going to be the timekeeper, and when it gets to be 2 minutes, that means it's time to wrap it up. So I'm going to start. My name's Joey. I and Jerry were close friends for many decades, sometime in the early 80s. I'll tell lots of stories later today at my house. Right now, I want to acknowledge some of the people who are streaming, who asked me to say a few comments. Thank you. One, I know his cousin Blanche is here. I think she's about 90 or 91, and she's back, I believe, in New York, so I want to recognize her. I believe his stepsister and stepbrother-in-law are also watching. I want to acknowledge them. And there's folks up in Portland watching. There's Covelo in New York City is watching. There's people all over the country watching this. One person I really want to point out is a man named Robert Barand, who went to 5th and 6th grade with Jerry and has known him since 5th and 6th grade. Robert had 2 stories he wanted me to share. One is when they were in 5th and 6th grade, they were both the smartest kids in their class. Now, Robert is not gay, so that's a little unusual, but, they were the 2 smartest kids in their class, and they would compete with each other to see who could read the most books in a week. The other story Robert asked me to share was, again, in 5th or 6th grade, Jerry taught Robert the words sexual intercourse. Robert apparently shared this knowledge at a Cub Scout meeting and was thrown out of Cub Scouts for saying sexual intercourse, which he learned from Jerry. So that is the story I have, and I will pass the mic. And remember, keep it short. Oh, you may want to stand up and remember, project your voice, because this is not a mic for the room in here.
It's not working.
It's not a mic for this space. It is a mic only for streaming. So there's no amplification in here. Okay?
All right. Wow. My name is Larry Bob, and I first met Jerry when he came to Minnesota with Harry and John for the first Northwoods Fairy Gathering in 1988. And I realized when I went and saw Jerry in the hospital that I'd known him longer than anyone else in San Francisco. And, it's just going to be it's different, not coming to some place and not seeing Jerry because he was so omnipresent and so identified with this city and this place. So, love to you, Jerry.
I'm Coco, and Jerry and Joey stayed at my house in Chicago, maybe 91 or so. And then I ran into Jerry somewhere like a couple of years later, and I didn't recognize him. So of course, he read me the riot act. How can you not remember me? I stayed in your house. And of course, I'll remember him forevermore.
Hi, I'm Sue. I have severe memory problems, so I don't remember how long I've known Jerry, but I miss him already. It was my pleasure, Jerry.
It's not going to be the same coming to visit San Francisco without Jerry here.
I am David. I guess what I remember Jerry is his ability to converse. You could set him up, he stayed in my house, and you'd give him a glass of something to drink and go clean the rest of the house, come back, he's still going. And he still had a smile on his face, so it was great. I did love Jerry.
My name's Dr. Detroit. I want to thank Tab Buckner for introducing me to Jerry, and thank Bound Together and Jerry for hosting many nights after they closed the store. To have his energy was one of the things that made me fall in love with San Francisco. He had a wonderful sense of hope and optimism and love, and believe it or not, a calm mind. I think we all need that. And his approach to life was to love yourself and love life, and he did that. And he shared that love with all of us and made us stronger. And to remember to be kind, friendly, and brave, that's what I remember from Jerry. Kind, friendly, and brave, with a great sense of humor and a hell of a lot of good energy that we all picked up and strengthened ourselves in this life journey.
Hi, my name is Gail, and I remember the day that Tab took us over to Stanton Street to meet Jerry for the first time. I can actually remember sitting on the couch, and Tab was eating a burrito, and I probably was too. And the three words I put down for what I think about Jerry: he was smart, he was well-informed on current events. He would always want to talk to us about what was going on in the world. He was generous. When we would have parties, he would be the one to drive people home. Even if he was feeling a little high, he would be willing to drive people home. And I'm going to give one example of something that he said that was funny. We were at a party at, I think it was John and Chuck's, and everybody had to put their shoes at the door. And Mike walked out with Jerry's shoes. They looked the same, but Mike's were a little tight for Jerry, but so Mike walked out with the bigger shoes. And then Jerry wrote, the next day after he got his shoes back from us, he said there was an expression: if you want to know somebody how they feel, walk for a mile in their shoes. And he said the advantage of that is they'll be a mile away when they realize that you have their shoes.
Hi, my name's Peter, and I'm afraid I don't remember the first time I met Jerry. I suppose it was at one of the parties that I attended with mutual friends such as Joey or Eileen Hansen or such like. So I'll think of one other memory of Jerry that I've had, which was accidentally encountering him at a screening of Midnight Cowboy at the SF International Film Festival. It was the first I had seen it, but it turned out that for Jerry it was one of his favorite films, and he wound up grooving to it together.
Hi, my name is Rita, and I met Jerry in 1992. We live in the same neighborhood for more than 30 years, and we were always close friends. I'm so happy I met Jerry and other people through Jerry, so I'm gonna miss him a lot.
Hi, my name is Lenore. I didn't know Jerry for very long, but I got to know him through John Sugar because we used to go down to SF Playhouse together and enjoy the theater, and it was a lot of fun. I always recognized him by his turquoise hair, and if he was late, it was easy to spot him.
My name is Tab, or Tabby, as Jerry always called me, and I first knew Jerry from the mid-'80s at the Thursday night Faerie circles at Bound Together Books, and then from Faerie events after that. And we were neighbors for the first decade. He lived around the corner from me. I was on Beulah, he was on Stanyon, and I was always watering his plants. And what I loved about Jerry is he lived life on his own terms. You know, he was one of those people that not only abandoned the conventions of mainstream living, but also of the gay conformities as well. He really lived his life the way Jerry felt he wanted to live his life. And that free spirit really was an inspiration and what really kept him going for so long. And I remember he, you know, in '93 saying, you know, I'm probably not going to be here within a few years, and we had him for 3 extra decades. And so we're very fortunate about that, but it still hurts to lose him because he was an extraordinary friend, so giving, so generous, never rich, but always there for you, spoiling you rotten in his own way. And we love you, Jerry. Blessed be.
Hi, I'm Joseph, and this is my partner, Woody the Goody. We've known Jerry for about 18 years. I didn't know his last name until about 2 years ago. He's always Jerry the Fairy. And some of you have been to our home. We would do ghetto Yahtzee night. And Jerry would very rarely win, but when he did, he was usually on the outer ring of Saturn between the wine and the weed and God only knows whatever he put in the weed. And every now and then we would say, why don't you bring Joey over? Joey came over twice, maybe 3 times. Every time Joey won the Yahtzee, and then we didn't see Joey. So it was like Jerry's way of putting the ringer into the thing. And then the last game he played was on July 20th, but the game we played on July 8th, he won. It was his highest score ever. He had a 418. He was so messed up that the score, we had to rehab the score for him. He spelled champion wrong, but God bless him. And he was very good to Woody and I. Woody has MS, we call it his mistress. And in 2014, 2015 were rough years. And, you know, we have a plaque on our house. True friends are like diamonds, precious but rare. False friends are like autumn leaves found everywhere. And Jerry was a diamond and then some. You want to say anything about Jerry?
Jerry was simply good to know. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Charlie Hinton. I didn't know Jerry that well, but I had utmost respect for him, his work at Bound Together Books. And it's just, we had the same test on the same day for heart issues. And I survived, and Jerry didn't. And so it's made me very grateful and just glad to be here. Hi, Jason.
I'm Jason Victor Serenas. I haven't lived here in a long time. It was kind of a shock to be looking at Facebook where I'd follow Jerry as he somehow managed to be traveling to the most exotic and wonderful places with picture after picture. And then he was declaring, you know, the operation is a success, I should be home tomorrow. And then I got the news. And as the election approaches, I've been thinking about the fact that he checked out shortly before the election. And I've been thinking about, you know, the anger that he at times had a lot of trouble dealing with. And I just think he may have made a decision, I don't know if I can handle this one. Here we are all dealing with it in his wake, and may we all do it with as much grace as possible.
Hello, my name is Benjamin. I don't know if I knew Jerry personally that well. I knew him long when I moved to San Francisco in the late 90s. But he was always super friendly to me and helpful, especially when I became more directly connected to organizing fairy-related things, and that support counted a lot. Stories to tell. I only have one really. It's kind of a heart circle story, but I think I may be able to break the rule since he's gone and the other person in the story is gone. One of the first heart circle event that we had at Groundswell, I called the heart circle, playing a singing bell, and then when people gathered, William was sitting next to me as I was facilitating the heart circle, and I told people about how we were going to do it, and if people rambled too much or got off, I would ring the bell to remind them. And so then we got around to Jerry sharing a story about all of his anger and feelings around the controversy of Nomeus and the controversy of now I can't remember the name, blackout, and the gathering spot in Oregon, Wolf Creek, and the way people criticized and dumped on him, and he went on and on. And we were looking, William and I, do we interrupt, do we stop, do we let him go? And we let him go, and it opened up for him. It was an opening up moment for him because he hadn't had the experience of being able to open up and share how much work he had put into it and how much people had mischaracterized him. And that was a wonderful experience, which I always remember about him at the end saying that.
Hello, everyone. My name is Stuart. Hello. I've known Jerry since, I would say, sometime in the early 90s, maybe from Haight Street parties or 14th Street. I don't remember where, but anyway, he was always around. He was that person that just was so social. He was just the social butterfly, always so happy, and just a lovely person, the loveliest person, and so funny. I had the honor of being Jerry's caregiver for the last couple years. So we got very close, and I saw a different side of him, and we enjoyed taking long walks down to the new park by the ballpark, China Basin. He really liked the China Basin Park, and he liked visiting with Rory and with Carl and Bunny. So. Yeah, what else about Jerry? Just the loveliest person, always so generous to everybody, very smart, read a lot of books, loved music. I'll miss Jerry very much.
Hi, my name is Richie. I didn't know Jerry very long, but he certainly made an impression on me. His big personality, his humor, and his very wet kisses on the cheek.
My name is John, and I met Jerry at a Radical Faerie gathering in New York City in the early 90s with Harry and John. He was probably one of the smartest and funniest people I've ever met, and his pronouns were it and what.
Hi, my name is Tim, and I loved most about Jerry was his twisted sense of humor. I would see him every Sunday at Fairy Coffee, and he would make my sides ache, just from the stories about what had happened to him each week, and most of which I can't repeat here. But I will say the last funny story Jerry told me was about how he had been at a party, and he was eating a plate of food, and his dentures broke, and his front teeth fell out on the floor. And before he could retrieve them, a dog ran through and grabbed them. And the dog ate his teeth. So anyway, that was typical of Jerry's stories. Love you, Jerry.
Hey, I'm Victoria Grace, formerly known as Edna May, she, her. I've known Jerry 35 years, and started with the Thursday night weekly circles at the Anarchist Bookstore, where he worked and gave great public service for until just a month ago. And great conversationalist, always at Faerie Coffee every Sunday, and I'll miss him a lot. What is remembered lives.
Let's see, how am I going to do this? I'm Bearded Iris, and I've known about Jerry for many years. I just never got to know him until Faerie Coffee when I started going at Thoroughbred on Church Street. Yeah, I kind of feel sad that I didn't get to know him very much, but I have been looking at his Facebook page and I'm realizing what an amazing man this was. So, blessed be.
Hi, I'm Adrian, and I met Jerry also at the Faerie Circle at the Bookstore, I'm sure, in the early 80s. And I always admired Jerry for his humor and his intelligence and his ability to be everywhere. He was definitely the Uber fairy. I mean, if there was anything fairy, he was there. And if any fairy was a craftsperson or had something to sell or contribute, Jerry always had one. You could see everything that anyone ever offered at Jerry's house. And I remember of all the things that Jerry was as a friend, one of the generous things that Jerry would do, you could always depend on him. Like if you had to go to the hospital and be picked up by someone, Jerry would immediately be the person to offer to do that, And but also I also survived many car rides with Jerry. And, I just remember one of them. We were going down Van Ness Avenue, and I'm in the back seat. And I think at this time I had not actually been in the car much with Jerry. And someone said, "Oh, the movie starts in 5 minutes." And I said, "We're never going to make it. Let's do something else." Jerry said, "Oh, no, yes, we will." And so Jerry, he cut through 3 lanes of traffic within like a half a block. And this is Van Ness, and everything's going, and then managed to turn left, and then managed to like turn into the parking garage of the theater. And I was just like, I didn't have time to even respond. I always remember that, and I really depended on Jerry too. If there was anything political or anything fairy related or social related, I could always depend on Jerry to fill me in and get me motivated. So we'll miss him dearly.
Mr. Toad's Wild Ride. Hi, my name is Rick LeBlanc. I have many, many names. All of you know about 6 or 8 or 12 or 15 of them. I'm a radical fairy. I'm an urban fairy. I'm also a sister, a saint of the sisters with a chorus and 17 different hats in San Francisco. And I knew Jerry through the Marty and Vince and Marty and Mickey House, 14th Street. I was the greeter every solstice after Marty moved from Oakland, Berkeley, and the House of the Golden Bull. We were there when we took the mailing list of all the people that were invited to the House of the Golden Bull and went delete. Because we just switched it over to word of mouth. Sorry, ladies, it was no clothes, no women at the solstice parties. I was there at the Tuesday Sucks. I was there at the Heart Circles. I was there at all the celebrations, and Jerry was there at most of them. I miss him dearly. My heart may be full, but there's always room for you. My dear, thank you very much for everything you've done. And thank you for having the brilliant mind that when he read a book, he remembered every bit of it. I miss you. I miss you. I'm flying back tomorrow to go back down to where I live in Palm Springs because it's Pride. Thank you very much.
Hello, I'm Mitchell. I just want to say I do miss Jerry. I enjoyed his company tremendously. Made me laugh, brilliant conversationalist and debater, and would take you on wild rides. I also will spend some of my time, I'm going to read a little message from David Smith. He said he's sending his love to Jerry, and I wish I could be there, but I'm not in San Francisco. No one can replace Jerry. He is one of a kind, and he always had your back if you were friends with him. I got to know him through our friendship with Pharmacist Ken. Oh, our Pharmacist Ken. I have great memories of traveling to Chicago and Minneapolis with Jerry, and of course, all the demonstrations. And that's it.
My name is Mouse. I probably met Jerry around 30 years ago or so. And we were both pretty heavily involved in Nomeus at various points. And as much as he drove me nuts, I loved him at the same time. And I'll keep it short. There was nobody as Jerry as Jerry.
I didn't know Jerry as long or as well as some of you, but anytime he ever came by 501, he seemed to have a genuine interest in saying hello and what you were doing. That was really superb, and I knew a great story was coming, a great anecdote was coming, and the last time I ever saw him was you and him hanging out in LA, and he was on top of a much younger man when I went to go say goodnight.
I used to live at 501, and this story goes back to the 90s. There was a video store on Haight Street called Into Video, and I was up at Into looking at a movie and down, and I got cornered by someone and flashed, and it was upsetting and dramatic, and the store guys chased him out. So I went back to 501, and there were a bunch of people hanging out in the living room. And I was like, oh, this just happened to me. And everyone was appropriately sympathetic. And with perfect timing, Jerry lets out a big sigh and goes, oh, you're so lucky. Love you, Jerry.
Well, there's way too much to say about Jerry. So I'm not going to say much, other than he's one of those people that you had the opportunity for him to intersect with your life, and that was all our good fortune. He's a remarkable person.
Jerry and I were going out one night. If he had a car, he took you. It didn't matter who you were. He was always helping somebody out. I never knew him when he wasn't doing something good for someone. The night he picked me up, I usually need an aid to walk. He had my walker, and he was trying to put it in the back of his car, and he started screaming at the walker, God damn it, I don't know why this fucking thing won't go in the car! I'm sitting in the car, and this kid comes up and he knocks on the door of the passenger side, and he says, dude, what are you doing in my car? Jerry was in the wrong fucking car. His keys fit. He got the doors open. And fortunately, that kid was a gentle little soul and didn't cut me. Number two, I took Jerry to a movie, Inside Job. Seems like it was 100 years ago. Denzel Washington, and I like him a lot as an actor. He's really great to watch. And we came back, we got in his car, we were talking about the movie. It's a mystery, yes, we like it. Meanwhile, there was a woman, I guess she's in her mid-40s, in a late model something, and she pulled up beside Jerry's car, and she wouldn't let him pull out. And once again, I see, like, Jerry was bipolar, and before we, even realized that. And he started jumping around in the car. He goes, "She won't let me out of this spot. She won't let me out of this parking spot. I'll kill her." Oh, Jesus Christ, no. He reaches behind him and he gets the car club, which is not a club to hit cars with, but he didn't know. And he took the club and he started smacking the fuck out of her late model something. And there was a woman behind him, a passenger, and she screamed at the driver and said, "Let's just get out of here." And the two of them whisked away, but not before a crowd gathered. About 40 people with, their cell phones taking pictures of his license plate, and one old lady with a pencil and notepad writing his license number down. And we pull away, and he turned to me, he goes, "That must have been pretty freaky for you, but I feel pretty good." I met him. That's it? Oh, I've outrun my 2 minutes. So sorry. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. I met Jerry about 27 years ago. I was referred to him by a friend in Tucson. I lived there at the time, and he said, when you get to San Francisco, knew I was moving here, says, look out for Jerry the Faerie. So, of course, Jerry the Faerie and I became friends instantly. And one of the things that really touched me over the years is how much, as much as he could be a bit of a kook, he also gave out good practical advice too. I mean, he was an experienced person, and he had a certain concern for youth and this and that. It just, I'd hang out with him in the store, and people would come in. And he was able to recommend books and give them ideas and all kinds of things. But the one story that really stands out in my mind is one on a Facebook group of radical fairies. This one poor gentleman had experienced someone attempted to strangle him on a date. And it was like pretty horrifying, but then it happened again, and again, and again. The same person. Oh, another strangling. At some point, Jerry just kicked in and said the most profound thing. He asked, "Did they try to strangle you before or after they get to know you?" And a brief intro to a concept I hope to actually flesh out someday. Jerry and I joked about making a children's book called Bump Splat. What was that? And it would start out with these little scenarios, and all of a sudden, bump, splat. What was that? Oh no, mommy's dead. Somebody shot her in the head. And it would go on, and then I came up with this idea one day. I said, "Jerry, I figured it out. Whatever we do with this, if we have to finish the book, it's got to be bump, splat, and that was that." And he said, "Somebody should say that at my funeral."
Okay, we'll now send the microphone around the second row. I also Tom, relax. I also just want to let folks know Jerry's ashes are actually in this urn that's in the center of the altar, and the urn will eventually, later today, after this is done, will be installed in Jerry's niche, which is on the 3rd floor. I can't remember. I think it's H11 is the section, but after it's up there, people are welcome to go up and look around the 3rd floor and see Jerry's niche. Yeah, I just wanted folks to know Jerry is here, at least in ashes, in the urn in the center.
My name is Chaz. I think I met Jerry at the Napa Gathering in '86 or thereabouts. I remember him quite vividly, or at that point, like, who the fuck is this loud, obnoxious guy kind of lecturing me on fairy history? And over the years, I came to realize that that kind of ferociousness, and this is the word I associate with him, is ferocious. That ferociousness was a gift. It was an amazing kind of quality. And he had an encyclopedic knowledge about so many things, but particularly about the fairies, about Harry and John, who we cared for years as they, both of them aged and passed away. He was dutiful and faithful, and for me, I could always count on him kind of being that collective memory of our community. And I was very grateful for that.
I didn't know Jerry for very long. I met him this summer at Wolf Creek. But I read, oh, my name's Eli, by the way. And I was just thinking about those urns, the ashes in that urn. And I feel like Jerry would like some marijuana in there to mix, because he always had weed and was very funny. I consider myself a funny person, but Jerry was definitely funnier than me.
I'm Paul. I met Jerry about 12 years ago, and when I saw him walk into the room at the 14th Street house, he shed this beautiful light. There was just something about him every time I would see him with his smile, this lightness. And I also remembered him about his kindness. He was a very kind person to me always, and I found that he was one that truly lived his life authentically, and was really impressed with that, and I will miss him. Send good blessings.
Hi, I'm David. I met Jerry about 14 years ago now, when I joined the board of San Francisco Pride. And, you know, I saw Jerry in many places in the community. I know he was very involved with the Faerie movement, but he was also involved with a lot of other things. Very community-focused guy. He never missed a meeting at Pride. He was always there, always present. And one year, when we were in financial dire straits, he put a good chunk of his net worth up to save San Francisco Pride. Now that's, you know, I've heard about the rides and so forth, but that's real commitment when you put your, you know, retirement at risk to save an organization that you believe in. He's very mission focused, unlike a lot of the people who are participating in Pride. And I really appreciated that about him.
Hi, Monica. I knew Jerry from Bound Together Books. I worked there many years. He was one of my favorite people there. He was one of the most welcoming people there, you know, very friendly with a great sense of humor. You know, I miss him. You know, he's always ready to do something, you know, giving for his friends. He was my fake landlord reference many times. He was like, oh yeah, I'll do that, yeah. And yeah, I feel like San Francisco won't be the same without him.
Hi, my name is Ted. Before I met Jerry, I've seen he was a fixture in the Castro that I see around in the 90s, and then eventually met him when I started volunteering at Bound Together. He was always really great to talk to, including one conversation I remembered talking about cars and Jerry, was that he told me about one time where he was in a major car accident, but then they had to take him away in an ambulance before the cops showed up, and so they weren't able to take an alcohol test. But I thought that was hilarious. But I was sort of moved into Oakland from the city for a few years after dealing with a housing crisis, and when I moved back, I was hoping to socialize with some people again, and unfortunately, it was just only a couple months later that I found out that he passed away, and never got to manage to see him. Right. Thank you.
My name is Bill Neal. I'm a native of the Haight-Ashbury who met Jerry at the Bound Together Bookstore, maybe 10 years ago or so. he and I shared substances and some philosophical affinities, such as always be drunken. That is all that matters. That is the only question. If you would not feel the horrible burden of time weighing on your shoulders and pushing you into the earth, be drunken continually. Drunken with what? With wine, with poetry, or with virtue, as you will. But be drunken. And if sometimes on the steps of a palace, or on the green side of a ditch, or in the dreary solitude of your own room, you should awaken and find that the drunkenness has half or solely slipped away from you, ask of the wind, or of the wave, or the star, or the bird, or the clock, of whatever flies or sighs, or sings or speaks, ask what hour it is. And the wind, wave, star, bird, clock will answer, it is the hour to be drunken, with wine, with poetry, or with virtue, as you will.
Hi, my name is Michael. I've known Jerry for, I guess, about 30 years. We live in the same complex. Actually, he got us in there, Crescent Cove. There used to be an institution called the M&J Wake-Up Service. That was, I would call him every day. So I spoke with Jerry every day. I would call him at 12 o'clock because otherwise he'd sleep till who knows when. And he wanted to be awake. And I miss him terribly. And I was there with the Yahtzee games, and he wouldn't even see the dice. He couldn't even see the numbers. He liked to party. There's no doubt about that. He was a party girl. And I miss you, Jerry. Rest in power. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Thomas Boyer, and I met Jerry at some point in the early 80s. I don't remember where. I think this T-shirt came from Jerry, actually. And it's true, he was a horrible driver, but he would always pick you up from the hospital or whatever, some necessary thing. I'm fortunate I talked with him about 3 hours before he had his heart attack. And he's very tolerant, no matter what someone's political views were. If he liked you, he accepted you. But anyway, so I will miss him, of course.
So I'm Bonnie, and I know I'm Jerry's first cousin. We share the same grandma, and so I can say a little about him as a little boy. You keep on referring to his memory and his scholarly knowledge, and that started when he was very young. He was always the smart one, and he always knew everything, and he read a lot. My memory of him, a little older than that, though, was trying to manage a very complex family relationship situation, and at least 2 or 3 times, we would get a call. He had run away, and my father would send him a bus ticket to come to stay with us in New York for a while till something got settled and he could go on to where he chose to be. And that, in that time, I got to know him a little bit. But I was in New York, he was in Chicago, and at that point, there wasn't a lot of travel. As an adult, he'd come to our house in San Francisco or Palo Alto, where I remember with my small children, one of them, he's not small anymore, he would love to throw the kids up in the air, and they'd giggle together. That joy and the pleasure of that engagement was very much felt in just how he interacted with my little children. And also, he loved his travel and his adventure. And we would hear these long stories about Amsterdam and here and there. He had this magic life. Someone was always taking him somewhere. And he would really remember all the details and like to share them, and you could see how much pleasure he had from that. So, and
I'm Adam, this is my mother. Yeah, cousin Jerry, I remember him coming to our house when I was a kid. I think he was the first queer person that I met, and that was really distinctive for me, and I don't think I realized it until I was much older. Yeah, and Jerry used to come and just tell these fantastical stories of his life in San Francisco and his travels. He told me about going to the first Burning Man, which I didn't know was cool until, once again, I also grew older. Later, I ended up moving up to San Francisco and visiting Jerry at the bookstore, and I would drop in every time I walked down Haight Street, and we'd have a little chat, or we'd take a walk in Buena Vista Park, where he would tell me stories of things that happened there. Also notably, I think my sister's not here, but Jerry took my sister to her first Bob Dylan concert, and I think gave her marijuana for the first time. So anyway, just lots of lovely memories of Jerry, and I wish I had had more time and dropped in more often, because it was always interesting and engaging, and I'll miss him very much.
Hi, my name is Jack. A lot of people have talked about how Jerry's was amazing and wonderful and smart and generous and kind, and sometimes he could just be a fucking pain in the ass and was difficult to get along with and had opinions that other people didn't agree with. And sometimes in meetings he was really hard to manage. And he was kind, he was generous, and he was a good person.
Hi, I'm Jimmy Sparklepants. The memories that are jumping out for me today with Jerry, I spent an afternoon with him once, interviewing him at his place. I wrote a young adult biography of Harry Hay that, as of yet, no one's ever wanted to publish. But I spent the afternoon, and so I have a couple memories. One, I remember talking about our own deaths. I tend to be very driven and want to accomplish things, and Jerry was like, I feel no need to accomplish anything before I die. I just want to party, you know? So, and the other image that made its way into the book is one of Jerry's favorite moments he used to do Harry and John's Circle of Loving Companion workshops. He told a story about what people decided to do was pass grapes mouth to mouth together to like circulate loving, erotic, brotherly energy, grape to grape, mouth to mouth. So I'll leave you with that image.
Hi, I'm Griffin, and Jerry corrupted me with love and joy and substance. There's a few of those. Two things that really jump out at me is I guess we were all drawn to him like a moth to a flame, you know? We all wanted to get a part of that energy, and he was actually one of the first fairies I met as I was a young baby queer in coming to San Francisco. And two moments that really strike out for me is a moment we were in ACT UP, and here he is wearing a long skirt and those boots, you know, that had been really trugged around the city and beating the fuck out of that drum, you know? He just was really, everything about him was pure and genuine, and I guess the most memorable moment we ever shared together was as young fairies back in the early 90s at a let's see, how do I put it? In a place called, on the porch of a place called Garden House. And he brought out the biggest joint I had ever seen. And here I am, I'm like 20 years old and hanging with the fairies, and he's teaching me all about all this stuff. And we started laughing. Oh my God, his laughter, I'll never forget his laughter because it was contagious. And he'd get me laughing, and I was laughing. And by the time we were all laughing for like half an hour, I was peeing myself. And then I realized the whole rest of the land, about another 150 fairies, were all giggling. You know, it was just one of those magical moments. He was contagious. And I hope his spirit lives forever.
Hello, my name is Carl, also known as Carl with Records, and Jerry and I shared the love for turquoise hair. As I see, there are a couple other turquoise heads around here, and he was really a fun, open-minded eccentric that I really enjoyed seeing over the years. I first met him back in about 1990 when he was taking care of my good friend and housemate Ronaldo, and he was providing food and support at all hours, and he would come by, and then I'd see him over the years, always willing to share the peace pipe, and so we enjoyed that together. And then I got to know him over the last year and a half or so, when Stuart would bring him over, and Bunny would join us, and we'd go on these excursions in the East Bay, like some crazy hikes, even though he could barely walk some of them. Like the path would end and turn into boulders, but he would, still manage it and not complain, like I might. But yeah, he was a very fun person that always had a lot to say, and I'll miss him, as we all will. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Michael Rupe. When I came back to San Francisco in the 90s, there were these ubiquitous, magical souls that blessed this city and made it what it was. I can't remember if it was a political event, the house on 14th Street, some activist action, or if it was just shooting the shit. Jerry has always been one of those folks who were there. And Jerry made and brought that sense and that touch of magic, whether it's the house on 14th Street or whether it's a direct action on the street. Today, I feel celebration of those memories, but also one of the things that makes San Francisco uniquely San Francisco. And that was him, and that was his relationship with all of us.
Hi, I'm Will. Picking up on the theme, you know that painting by Delacroix, 1830 Revolution in Paris, and liberty is on the barricades, and smoke is billowing up behind her, and young men are holding their pistols up, and liberty is bare-breasted, holding a tattered flag, and that, for me, is Jerry the Faerie.
I'm Brad. I didn't know I was going to be speaking, but my memories of Jerry were almost always with Tab getting high. So there's a lot that I don't remember. And I'm sure there's a lot he doesn't remember too. But I just remember him as a caretaker always asking me how I was and how my friend Terry was. So just appreciate him.
Hi, I'm Jesse. I last saw Jerry a couple months ago at Bound Together Books, and we chatted about his visit to Wolf Creek this summer, where he was able to attend gathering. And it just meant a lot to me that he was still going back to the land and that we were still connected. I always felt as though we were part of some conspiracy or some plan, some story together, where we were co-creating something. He was an unrepentant radical, and I think we forget, so many of us, how rare that is, how rare it is that people don't find some compromise with the system, something that degrades their spirit or their vision in some way. And I'm so thankful to have known him over the last 20 years, and I continue to admire him.
Hi, I'm Scooby. I did not know Jerry for a long time, but Jerry knew me basically from when, like you were saying, a baby career. I was 20 coming to San Francisco, did not smoke drugs, was actually, very afraid when people smoked drugs around me or did any kind of drugs. And so Jerry watched me go from that to like a total stoner and being able to like chill out and really enjoy life. And it was just kind of a gift to be able to get stoned with him, because it was like, I don't know, something kind of clicked in my head where he was kind to me even back then when I was very like prejudiced towards people who did any kind of drug, and then evolved all the way into I could see how like, I don't know, life just changed a lot, and he could see it right away. Didn't question me, didn't say, oh, you're smoking now, nothing like that. It was just no judgment. It was just like peace, and it felt really nice. So just wanted to share that.
My name is Chuck, and it's an honor to be with all of us together with Jerry. And my husband John and I, we'd have parties, of course, and Jerry would be invited, and I always felt like it was a bit of an honor when he'd walk into the door. And whenever he said anything, it was always with a clear, every word sculpted perfectly. It was almost as if he was giving a speech, but it would be like a 15 seconds speech. And whenever he finished the speech, if it was a funny thing, he'd end it with this almost sinister I'll miss you, Jerry.
Well, I sure will too. I remember one time we had a party and we could fit about 10 people into our apartment, and I think the Whitties took off. And all of a sudden it was time to kind of close down the party, or it was closing of its own, and Jerry was looking around for his shoes. And he spent like 5 minutes like finding some white shoes or whatever color they were and putting them on, and it's like, where are my shoes? Where are my shoes? And for like 5 or 10 minutes, he was like going, where are my shoes? And finally we realized that what had happened to me at seeing the mime troupe one time, where someone put my shoes on and went to the bathroom. Well, Mike Whitty had walked off with his shoes. And so I said, I think Mike Whitty walked off with your shoes. And at that point in our apartment, burst out just on cue, as if a gun had gone off and everyone had to do it at once, the most uniformly loud laugh I have ever heard in my life in our apartment. Set the record for the loudest laugh ever in our apartment. And when we realized that his shoes were gone and Mike had walked off with them, so he had to take someone else's. But I wanted to say something that something that meant something to me personally at the mime troupe when he was taking care of John Burnside in a wheelchair. And I brought a bottle of wine. It was Chateau Neuf du Pape, and it was about $10 a Bevmo. And it was the Pope's wine when the Pope had to flee to Bordeaux from Rome. And anyway, I forgot my fucking joint. Back then I used to smoke pot. I'm playing the saxophone now, and I stopped smoking pot because I am tired of coughing up loogies in the middle of a song. But I was smoking pot then, and I always brought up a joint to the mime troupe, and I had forgotten it that time and bicycled over from Bernal Heights to Dolores Park, and I didn't have my joint. And Jerry said, well, I'll get you stoned, I'll smoke you up, don't worry. And so he pulled out his pipe, and we smoked, and I said, oh, thank God, the Lord will provide. And he goes, no, don't thank the Lord, thank your friends will provide.
Hi, I'm Glinda. So probably like a lot of us over the years, we have a lot of non-PG-13 stories from Jerry that we probably shouldn't repeat. So one of the non-PG or PG-13 memories I have is my girlfriend and I were going to go see a Fleetwood Mac cover band called Fleetwood Macrame, and JTF and my brother Warner and Warner's partner Jerry. We all get together, we all go to this show, and my friend's mother is also in town. She joins us, and we have a great time. Drinks are being had, we're having tons of fun. Then the show ends, we all go outside, my brother, JTF, and Jerry are all smoking a joint, and we're like, we should take my friend's mother out for more drinks. And I had the realization, I was like, oh, I pull my brother aside, and I'm like, we can't do that, Warner. And he's like, why? And I'm like, she's a Trump supporter, and if JTF finds out, the night is not gonna end well. So, yeah. They left, so yeah, there's the story.
Hi, I'm David. About 20 years ago, I was a law student in San Francisco, and I was a pothead, and I needed someone to sell me some pot. And somehow I got connected to Jerry, and we were both living on Stanton at that time, and he was living about 3 or 4 doors up from me. I lived with John Sugar, and yeah, Jerry became my pot dealer when I was a law student, I would go over, and he would always roll a joint, and we would get really, really, really high and watch South Park and laugh, for hours. And I want to thank the organizers of today. This is such a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful celebration of his life. It's really wonderful. Thank you so much, and I'm grateful to be here with you all and to remember such a wonderful, incredible, amazing human being.
Hi everyone, I'm Avery Hill. I knew Jerry through Bound Together Bookstore, and I'm sure, like any collective member would tell you, he made the place just a really special community and brought a lot of humor and joy, and I think some healthy chaos to the group. And I remember one time going into the bookstore and seeing someone behind the counter that I was taking the next shift, and I saw someone I didn't recognize behind the counter, and I said, hi, I'm Avery, who are you? Are you training? And they said, yes, I'm training. And I said, oh, well, who's training you? I didn't see anyone around. And they said, oh, Jerry, but he's out to go, he said he was gonna go get something or something, but he's been gone for a little bit. I was like, oh, okay, well, I'll sit here with you, and we were behind the desk for a bit. And then I looked outside and noticed his car right there, and he opened up the car door, and smoke was just billowing out. And he was in there hotboxing the car, and everything was great. And he really made the place really welcoming for a lot of new people, and I think really attracted a lot of people to the space. And so for me personally, I actually remember after moving to San Francisco, seeing Jerry was one of the first people I would see out and about at different cafes or just on the street, and I remember he really made San Francisco first kind of feel like a community to me. So thanks, Jerry.
Hi, I'm Caroline. I also know Jerry through Bound Together Books. And I actually had the pleasure of driving Jerry once. And I've been thinking a lot about that car ride. I was driving him back from an Anarchist coffee house in the East Bay. And just thinking about all that I learned from him and the ways that he showed up in the world. And San Francisco is a little sadder without him, but I'm happy that we all get to carry his spirit on.
No. Anyone who hasn't spoken? Over here. Okay, wait. I'm going to pass this around the outside circle. I may need to physically do it, because... Okay, there you go. But I will still keep time.
Hi, y'all. I'll try to make it really quick. So I moved here to San Francisco. I don't live here anymore, but I moved here in 2007 and quickly found myself over at a house party at 14th Street House, and quickly saw that same person that y'all are talking about, the energy, that magnetism, and then also over the years knew of the controversial opinions or whatever, but I'm from Chicago, he's from Chicago. We speak our minds and we say it, and we deal with the punches later, and I think that we both shared that, and this past summer I went back, not this summer, the last summer, I went back to Wolf Creek for my first return back, my first fairy gathering there. And I decided to be a happy heckler during the No Talent show and just support everyone. But when I first got there, I rubbed some people the wrong way with my controversial opinion. And so during Jerry's participation, his opening joke, he was doing a stand-up, and his opening joke referenced his rejection of my controversial opinion. And I quickly was just like, boo, boo. And then he went on to the funnier jokes. And I celebrated his jokes just like everyone else's. And yeah. Yeah, I think also like with my own belief systems, I was mentioning too, I think it's valuable for all of us, in my belief, if we are returning to some sort of something afterwards, all of us here are all willing to like petition for his rest. And I found it necessary even though I heckled him the last time I saw him, I still care for his rest.
I'm Gary. My connection to Jerry is through Joey. And with all the talk of accidents, I know that Joey had an accident in Jerry's car. And I'm going to say that it was Jerry's karma that created that accident.
Karma. Hi, my name is Amy, and I also knew Jerry through a bunch of old friends, and through the bookstore. And the last time I saw him was at the Howard Zinn Book Fair, and it had been a bunch of years. I think during the pandemic there was no Howard Zinn Book Fair, and I went in, and I haven't been intensely in that circle for a long time, but I walked in, and there was the Bound Together table. And there was Jerry the Fairy, and I just felt so good to see him and so welcomed by him and so interested in what he had to share. And he was a lovely man, and I share with you the sorrow that he's gone.
JDF, what a man. What a man. He's good people. He's a real good friend. I'm sorry to see him go. He came to visit on my birthday, and he left his jacket at my house, and it's still there.
Hi, I'm Racer. I met Jerry 28 years ago. It was long after I joined the Thursday Circle. I was having Circle at my house. In those days, they weren't having it at the bookstore anymore. It was circulating around the various Faeries houses you could host, and it was my first time hosting. I was living out in the avenues on 31st Ave with my ex, and I was really excited and really nervous, and that was the night I met Jerry. Who should walk in the room but Jerry, and he had Harry and John with him, of all people. So, I mean, starstruck is maybe not quite too strong a word to describe the way I felt. Anyway, it was an amazing experience, and he was an amazing man. There were several times in the last few years, I don't know where else I would have turned for help, other than him, and he never failed to come through, and I'm going to miss him a lot. So that's all I have to say.
Hi, my name is Eric, and when I moved to San Francisco in around 1998, I wanted to volunteer do some volunteer work with some gay elders, and Tom Christensen, who I met at the time, introduced me to Harry and John, and through a connection to the Radical Faeries and the caregiver circle that ultimately I would become part of, Jerry the Fairy was the one who Tom sent me to bring me into the circle. And Jerry was really that person that connected me to who I ultimately met, Mark Garrett, my life partner, in that circle. And it was really an honor to be with Jerry in that circle and all the people that participated and that I met through that circle. So, Jerry, thank you.
My name is Mark, and I probably met Jerry in 89 or 90, probably at Wolf Creek, possibly at 14th, well, later at 14th Street for sure, and everywhere else. 2 words, enthusiastic chaos.
Hi, my name's Bill.
I got to know Jerry fairly well at a sex magic workshop at Wolf Creek that Harry and John were having, and some others in the room were at. And I learned a lot about, through 7 days of circling, about Jerry's past. And Jerry had some trauma, and I had such respect for the brightness that he had going through all that trauma. And he didn't carry it. You didn't sense it when you were with him. And one other quick story, Jerry was my pot dealer for years. But you had to carve out a big chunk of time to get pot from Jerry, because he would start telling a story, and they would go on for about 20 minutes, which worked with how he sold pot, because he'd have these jars of bud. He'd pull out a bud, put it in a plastic bag, put the lid on the jar, seal up the plastic bag, and weigh it. And it usually took him about 8 times to get an eighth. And he would go through the whole process every time, taking off the lid, putting the lid back on, opening up the bag, closing up the bag, and over, but the story would just sort of carry on. So I always enjoyed that, and bless you, Jerry.
I'm Eric. I just want to tell a story about, there was, at the Naraya ritual at Wolf Creek, you were told to bring a white shawl with you, and during the dance, but if you were dancing wildly, it might fall off. So you also needed a safety pin, and so one Naraya, Jerry showed up with a whole bag of these big safety pins, which were kind of hard to find, and it was really sweet, because a lot of people didn't have one, and so he just made sure everybody had one. And Clyde Hall, who ran the ritual, made everybody stop and said, "I want you to notice, what this man did. He brought these for everybody, and that's the spirit of what we're doing here." So, I don't know. There was this way that because Clyde put that focus on it, that transformed my whole view of Jerry. The other thing that I always think of is the time he showed up at Wolf Creek wearing the shirt that's out there that says, "I'm talking and I can't shut up." It was the time I realized, he's in on the joke. He gets it.
Oh, have you spoken yet? No. Okay, yeah, go on up.
My name's Lee, and I used to volunteer at Bound Together, and we put on a book fair once a year. And one year, one of the groups hadn't paid their fee, and so we rented their space out to somebody else. They showed up. Jerry and I are sitting at a table in the front of the door checking people in. They buffaloed their way right past us. Joey went over there to explain the rules to them. And one of these guys, the aptly named Rotten, shoved Joey. Joey comes over to the table and tells us this. Well, Jerry had a pretty short fuse. And mine's shorter, so I got up first. And I went over there and I butched at this guy a little. I didn't hit him. I'm jabbing my finger at his solar plexus, and he's backing up like this. Guy was not going to fight me. He had short arms. He didn't have a chance. Jerry didn't see this. He stood up on his tiptoes and looked over the crowd, and he thought I was in trouble. I finished up chasing this guy away. I turn around, and there's Jerry flying across the floor, waving a chair like this. That was so Jerry. And this woman whose name I forgot grabbed him by the collar and made him stop. And I threw my arms around her, because you gotta love a guy that does stuff like that, even if you don't need it. If somebody thinks you need rescued, they should come rescue you. And he was that kind of guy.
Since we're on about Jerry's shoes,
This is one I remember from Jerry Lasley and Warner Graves telling me. They went to the Big Island of Hawaii, and there was an active volcano, and they went to visit the volcano while it was active. And Jerry just couldn't help but get almost entirely into the pit of the volcano. And so his shoes were melted to the volcano. So if you ever go up to the volcano on the Big Island, you might be able to get a waft of the rubber soles of Jerry the Faerie. But I think there was a video of it too somewhere. Maybe if Jerry Lasley has that, he'll post it to the memorial site. But he always wanted to be right up there in the flames. Oh, here we go.
Hello, I'm Sandra. I had the pleasure of meeting Jerry at Bound Together Books many years ago, probably about 1998 or so, and he was so welcoming. I was quite young at the time, and I want to say that Jerry really helped solidify the value of community organizing and activism, and I'm really, really grateful for that. Thank you, Jerry, and I will always remember your sweet smile. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Wing Hartz. I didn't know him very well, but I did know him at Nomeus. He was a very constant person there, and if anyone loves him and knows him and remembers him, he was always that contrarian, that beautiful person. But the thing that I miss the most about him, really, is his presence. I've lived here for 17 years, and I'm going to miss his presence.
I had the pleasure of getting to know Jerry weekly, running into him at Bound Together Bookstore. He always had a full report since I saw him last, and was also genuinely interested in your full report. I really appreciated the full saturation in which he existed and encouraged those around him to exist, and witnessing his really genuine, tight friendships helped me believe what's possible in friendships.
Hi, my name's Aldo Gallegos. I met Jerry a few years ago at Bound Together Books. I was training with him, and he trained me the most. In that time, I was able to recognize in him a tremendous intelligence, a really profound kindness, and I also recognized some of his rage, which luckily was not directed at me. He was always, he showed a lot of tolerance and compassion for people who walked into the store. He showed it towards me. And these are the things I think of when I think of Jerry. I'll never forget him. And I know he has some rage, but I always viewed that as a kind of expression of his tremendous passion for people, for justice, for things that really matter. And in the short time that I knew Jerry, I recognized that I was around an amazing person who we are all here to remember today. And I'm very honored to be able to be here with you today.
No, where am I? I'm over here. Sorry. Where did my chair? Somebody's sitting in my chair. Darling, there's one back here. I'm easy. Okay. So we're going to draw this part of the memorial to a close. It's been really moving. I've been having several bouts of tearing up. Everybody has said everything I could say. And I want to thank you all for saying it so eloquently and so concisely. I really only had to ring the bell a few times. Most of you know that is a miracle. We're going to close this part, give us a few minutes, and we're going to set up for the reception. The food and drinks will be over there. We also have a table set up that has stuff that belonged to Jerry that we're looking to give away. So look through that. Don't be a hog, but take, something that you'd like. And then this evening at my house, I'm having people over if people want to continue to talk about Jerry and drink and smoke pot. So, yeah, again, Jerry, I don't know how I'm going to live without him, but I'll figure it out, and with help from everybody here. So if we could stand again. Hold on with the hands of the people next to you. And take a breath in. Breathe out. Take a breath in. When you breathe out, this time breathe into the urn. Breathe in again. And hold your memory of Jerry in your mind's eye, because that's the Jerry we have. Take another breath in, and breathe out in the center. And the circle is open, but unbroken. Thank you all. Thanks, Jokey here. Oh my God. We have actually a bit of an entertainment. Jokey has gotten a piñata police car that is filled with joints and gummies. And we're going to be outside. Jokey will be taking care of this with a witch's broom bashing at the police car. So that still is coming up. And Stuart helped a lot on this. Tom from Bound Together, Jokey, Tabby, I think, and Stuart, yeah. And I really want to thank the folks here at the Columbarium. They are fabulous. When I first, Jerry has a niche here, so I thought this is the perfect place to do his memorial. When I first came, I got a tour with someone, and I said, he was really active in the marijuana community. We're going to need a place outside where everybody can go and smoke pot. And they said, oh yeah, we got a table right over here. So the one thing they didn't let me do, and I understand it as a preservationist, I wanted to put Jerry's picture over Jesus' face over here, but I get it. It's a historic building. So again, thank you to the folks here. Look around this place, but also look into the other buildings around here. They've done this incredible. There's hundreds of open niches if you're looking for a place. So again, thank you all for coming, and we'll see you at the reception. Thanks.